What's up, H2O Army? Today we're discussing fertilizer. Stay tuned. Alright guys, let's talk nutrients. So, first off, let's discuss what nutrients are and the importance of them. So right now you're looking at Legos, and I figured the easiest way to put this in a perspective that most people can understand is let's go with something that everybody should know and love, and that's Legos. So first, let's discuss what you're looking at. So you got your nitrogen compound, your copper compound, phosphorus, potassium, iron, and then other represents a bunch of miscellaneous minerals that you know, if I was just to lay them all out, there would be a ton of them. So that's the other portion. So let's break them down into two parts. So you have micro and macronutrients. In the micronutrients, it's relatively small amounts of nutrients that you would find in soil, such as copper, zinc, cobalt, boron, manganese, and iron. Those are your micronutrients. Your macronutrients are things that are found in large supply in most soil. That's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, and a couple other compounds as well. So those are the difference between macro and micronutrients. Basically, they're found in excess, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and etc., and the ones that are found in low amounts, iron and the other ones. And every bit of them are used for plant growth. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't need iron because I don't have any red plants. Well, that's not the case. Let's look at it as if you were building a house, all right? Or this is your plant, right? So you have the base of your plant. Here you go. This is the base, and you want to build your plant. And so what you're going to use is you're going to use a lot of these nitrogen blocks, and they're going to start building your plant's cells and allowing it to grow. Okay? Now you're going to get to a point where the plant is going to say, hey, I need some iron for this area of the structure. And so they're going to use some iron to fill in the areas where they need. And then maybe they need some of the other micro or macronutrients that aren't really listed here, but let's just say boron or something like that. And they need that to grow. And then they need some potassium. So this is kind of how they all fill in, and copper, and then more nitrogen, right? So even if you're just dosing nitrogen, your structure in the plant isn't just going to use nitrogen. It's going to use other ingredients. Now, your food that you're feeding your fish may contain some elements that gets basically run through the fish's digestive system. They excrete the waste, and then it breaks down over time and creates these other nutrients that you may not have in your tank or you may not be dosing. And those will allow the plant to build. But if for whatever reason you were completely missing copper, let's just say you had 0 copper in your tank, right? Now the plant needed that part to fill in this block right here, but now it's missing it. So it has to get it somehow. And now, yes, maybe the plant can fill it in using a different nutrient source, but it had to have replaced that with some other ingredient, and it's not going to grow as fast, where if it had the proper ingredient, it would grow much faster. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. So that's basically why having all the ingredients is essential to plant growth, regardless of light or if you have CO2 on your tank. This is important. These are the building blocks that build your plant and allow it to grow properly. That's not to say it can't grow without it. It will still grow most likely, but it's always good to have a nutrient source. So let's get into the different kinds of ingredients and different kinds of fertilizers and stuff that you guys can find at home. Stay tuned. Okay, so before we get into this portion of the video, I just want to say none of these products have sponsored this video, and one product is owned by me. I sell it on my website, and I do gain to obviously make some money if you purchase it. With that said, you don't have to. I'm going to show you a bunch of different other kinds of fertilizer that you can use that I don't carry. So let's touch on the very basic one that I feel that most people know when they go to an aquarium store and they see, and that's Seachem's brand. Now, Seachem has a bunch of different products, and this is only 3 of them. They make, I believe, 3 or 4 more bottles that contain different chemicals, but these are the 3 that I happen to have, and these are ones that I used when I first started my planted tank. Very simple to use, but it does get very costly, and it isn't as easy as I'd like it to be for beginners, but let's take a look at them anyway. So this is Flourish Trace, and on the back here is the list of the ingredients. My light's kind of hitting it there you go. So you got boron, cobalt, copper, water-soluble copper, manganese, water-soluble manganese, another word that I'm going to butcher, zinc, rubidium, nickel, and vanillin. So notice how there's no nitrogen, which is quite interesting because nitrogen is the most used ingredient in plant growth, and that is very important to your tank. So by getting a bottle of Trace isn't going to give you everything you need, and you're going to need to get the nitrogen supplement. Now, you may have excess nitrates in your tank from your fish waste, and that is a form of nitrogen. But if you really wanted to make sure you had enough nitrogen in your tank, you want to be able to dose it as well, and this has 0 nitrogen content. So that's something to keep in mind. Next, potassium. Pretty easy. Soluble potash, or potash, K2O. And then Flourish Iron. And this is just iron, 1%. So, how you dose these is you unscrew the cap, and then you would pour out a portion of it, and for each little rung inside of the cap there is 1 ml pretty much. And this is what's difficult to dose, because if you're a beginner and you're trying to figure out, well, how much should I dose, and you're not certain, the direction says use 1 capful, which is 5 ml, for every 80 liters or 20 gallons twice a week when using in conjunction with Flourish dose on alternative days. So it's basically saying you need to pick up one of these bottles and another bottle, and like another type of chemical, and then you would have your full dosage as far as your basic goes. And then potassium and iron are different, and there's other bottles as well. So dosing that can be a pain, and trying to figure it out on your first time or getting into planted tanks. This could be a real, not a headache, but just a problem. And I personally don't like these. They're good products, but I don't like them because they're not easy and they're not cost effective. These are going to cost you a lot because each bottle, I believe, ranges between $10 and $20 for a 500 ml. And you can find these on Amazon. All the links to all these products are going to be in the description below, so you could go check them out. But these particularly, I'll link on Amazon. And if you really want to try these out, you can. I'm not going to tell you not to. They're decent. They're good. But there's always better. So let's move on to the next part. So that is for beginners, and this I would say is for beginners and then some. So this is my formula, Vital, it's called. It's an all-in-one aquatic plant fertilizer by H2O Plants, me. On the back are the instructions, okay? So what this is it has all the micro and macronutrients that you would need to build a plant properly. And if you read here, you can see the analysis. Analysis is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, manganese, or magnesium, sulfur, boron, a little bit of copper, which is completely safe, some iron, manganese, and that other word that I'm going to butcher, molybdenum, I believe it's called, and zinc. So, this is Vital. And this has all of what would be in that Seachem line of products all in one bottle. Essentially, you would have to buy 6 different bottles of Seachem, or 7, something like that, to equal the equivalent of all the different nutrients that are in this bottle. And that's good, because this is also easy to dose. All you have to do is you unscrew this cap. Unscrew the top part, and then it pops up like so, and then you would just pump it into the tank. Each pump of this fertilizer treats 10 gallons of water, So it makes it extremely easy to dose any size tank. If you have a 5-gallon tank, you would do half a pump. If you have a 20-gallon tank, you would do 2 pumps. 50 gallons, you would do 5 pumps, and so on and so forth. Now, this bottle I get from basically a chemist that makes this fertilizer, and it is completely plant safe, shrimp safe, and fish safe. So it's been aquarium tested and all that good stuff. And this is what I recommend for everybody, because it's super easy, super beginner friendly, and it also can scale, because you guys can use this and not have any issues, and you just get one bottle and that's it. You don't have to worry about, oh, how much of each do I have to dose? Now, with that said, this is geared towards low to medium light tanks. The difference between this and some other all-in-one fertilizers is they have a high iron content, where this has a very low iron content, and a couple other things are a bit low, but iron is the key one there, and iron is only a 0.08%. And why it's geared like that is because a lot of beginner plants don't need a whole lot of iron. They still need iron, but they don't need a tremendous amount of it. And if I sold this as the regular all-in-one formula with that high iron content, you're going to possibly have algae outbreaks depending on the plant load. So it's best that it's a low iron content. It's great for beginners with very low to medium light tanks. There will be another Vital formula coming out very soon that's going to be the high-tech or highlight variation that's going to have a higher iron content. With that said, is you can still use this and dose something like the Flourish Iron if you wanted to increase the iron content for whatever reason, or any of the other chemicals. So let's move on to what this stuff is actually made out of. So all of these ferts are called dry ferts, and I use the EI dosing method, and basically what that is I dose different types of dry chemicals every day in different dosages every other day as well. So some chemicals get dosed on one day, some chemicals get dosed on another day, and it alternates 5 days a week. So it can be very time consuming, and that's why I also recommend this is not for the beginner, and only if you're an experienced aquarist and really serious about growing plants and keeping up with the chemistry of the tank. In this manner, you could dose extra monopotassium phosphate in your tank and be able to accommodate those plants. You also have your iron content, which is this Plantex CSM plus B, and then this is GH Booster, which is a mixture of sodium, calcium, and I believe sulfur. And all these products can be found on the website in the description below that says for dry ferts. It's a buddy of mine, Nalik G Aquatics, and there's also a coupon code if you guys wanted to test them out if you're starting to get the kind of the craving to do a bit more. But these are what you can buy here, and this is essentially the same stuff that is in my all-in-one formula. So you would dose these basically, it's called an EI method, and it goes based off your tank size, and you have to measure it out. So you can find the nutrient calculator at rotellerbutterfly.com, and in there you can plug in the size tank that you have and all that and get exactly how much of the dry ferts you need to use. So be sure to check that out. The key here with the dry ferts is only using what your tank needs, and giving it just a little bit extra. But if you use too much of any one of these, it's going to cause algae or going to cause other problems in your tank. So that's why this is really for advanced users, and this may not be something that you're looking to get into yet. So these are what I use in my grow tanks. I'll be straight up and upfront with you. I use all these products. I use 3 other ones, which I'll show now. So in addition to those, I also use Furious Gluconate, I probably butchered that name, Iron Chelate 10%, and I use this manganese sulfate. Furious Glue is basically a fast reacting iron product. So it's basically iron on steroids, so your plants absorb it way faster. Then I have regular iron, which is a slow reaction iron, and plants will absorb this at their normal rate. And then manganese sulfate, and I haven't exactly tested out what this does, but a couple of friends of mine that I talked to say they use it They use it in small amounts, and it's basically a 3-to-1 ratio. So this is kind of information that you're not going to be able to find anywhere. So if you wanted to do this, I'm just going to explain it real quick. You use 3 parts this. So if this is one, let's say it's 3 tablespoons or teaspoons. That might be a ridiculous number, but let's just say 3 teaspoons. You would use 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, and then a a third of a teaspoon for this. That's the mixture that I use. Right now though, I'm double dosing, so I'm double dosing the recommended dosage for all of these different minerals here. Now, these can be used in one more type of fertilizer that I want to touch on, and that's called the pps-pro method. And what that is, it's basically all these dry fertilizers except for the 3 additional ones that I showed you guys. Those 3 don't get used here, but the other 4 kind of do. The GH booster gets broken down into 2 other chemicals, and then you mix them in here, but essentially you have 2 bottles, one with your micros and one with your macros. Now this is very similar to my Vital All-in-One formula, where you would make your own mixture of essentially that. And these, even though I bought these from Greenleaf Aquariums, Knowledge G also sells these. And basically you can see here that you want to boil, well, you sanitize the container, you measure the dry ferts using a scale in grams, so you would measure out the recommended dosage, and on the bags, if you get the pps-pro method, will actually be how much you use. And then, or actually no, right here on the container it says Plantex 40 grams. So you would use the Plantex, you would measure out 40 grams, and you would add it to here with 500 mils of water, and you would shake, and that would be your mixture. And then you would dose 1 ml per 10 gallons. And you can see here on the top of this you have mLs, 5, 15, and 30, so you would have to measure it out by that or using a different method. And this could just be a little bit easier of a way for you guys to dose ferts. If you wanted to do dry ferts, which are the most cost effective because you get the best bang for your buck, you get these and you make your own formula using these, and then you could tweak it every time you make more. You can say add a little extra or a little less depending on your tank and your results. So this is another method that I've used in the past, and it worked great for me, but the dry ferts, being able to dose everything individually, makes most sense for my setup. It may not make the most sense for yours. So guys, that is kind of fertilizer in a nutshell. There is a lot more to it, but I wanted to kind of just cover the basics. I might follow up with a part 2 and a part 3 of this if I can get the logistics laid out for it. I also want to just note here that root tabs are different, and root tabs I'm going to touch on a different video because they're not the same thing as dosing fertilizer. Okay, this is a lot different than root tabs, and if you think you could get away with one or the other, you really shouldn't. But you could also not need any fertilizer if you're using super easy plants and you don't want them to grow super fast and you don't want them for whatever reason to be fully healthy. You don't need fertilizer. Let me just say that again. You don't need it, but I recommend it. And that's how you get the best possible plant growth. So guys, I hope this helped. Leave it in a comment below. Any questions you have, I'll try and answer them. And maybe you other guys out there that are pros at this, maybe you could help answer some questions also. If there's a part 2 or part 3, it'll be in the description when it goes live. I'll make sure that I update this video with everything in the description. I hope you guys check those out to kind of get more knowledge about it. And yeah guys, if this helped at all, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I will see you guys on the next video. Later.